So before this video officially begins, I just want to say that I'm really sorry it took so goddamn long to make. I did not intend for that. I am incredibly sorry for that. I hope the video is still up to good standards and people still enjoy it, even if it did take so long to make. And I'm sorry, and I promise I will try to be better in the future. Alright, that's it. I now present to you the Heroes Are Not Made of Stone questions and answers for that story's 1 year anniversary. So, Heroes has had its 1 year anniversary. When was that? Months ago by now. I'm sorry that I am. That was not supposed to happen. Yeah. But here we are. I'm here. I'm making this video. Yes. So, however many months ago, I asked you all to ask me some questions because one of my currently favorite stories that I'm writing right now, called Heroes Are Not Made of Stone, has had its 1 year anniversary. And I felt like that should be celebrated with the questions and answers video, because I thought that would be fun, and I don't know, hopefully you guys would enjoy it. So, I asked, and you guys delivered some questions, and they're great. So, Fire Nightheart asks, what are some of your favorite characters by themselves? This probably isn't that big of a revelation, but definitely Kitsuko, Hachiro, and Yuki. There are definitely others too in Heroes and outside of it, and definitely ones I really like diving into the psychology of and figuring out their arcs. I do genuinely love the entire Heroes cast. They're some of my favorite characters of all time at this present moment. It's kinda hard picking favorites between them as a result, but I know the main characters are definitely some of my favorites. I also like Taki and Joe, as well as Yori and Aina, and honestly the entire cast. I just love them all, okay? So, Zero Arrows asks, what would you say is your favorite power/ability you've come up with so far? I will say I like Hachiro's power, and there are some outside of Heroes that I also really like. I think the kind of role Hachiro's power plays in his perception, as well as society's perception of himself, is really interesting to me. Like, it's one of those weirder powers that often aren't viewed all that well, and figuring out how that has affected Hachiro and will continue to affect him is really interesting. Powers are, for many people living in this world, an integral part of their identity, and depending on what power you have, your perception of yourself and obviously your power will change, and how you then go about in that world will also change. Sadly, some powers aren't viewed all that well. Some are really not viewed all that well. Some are outright illegal to use because, there's things like siren voice, where your voice makes people fall in love with you, so it's illegal to use. Mind control is also one of them. Mind reading, it's not even allowed to be active. You need a power shutter. It's like a metal band you can wrap around your wrist or neck or however you want. So, Fire Nightheart asked the question, what are some of your favorite characters you have designed? Again, really hard to answer because I'm bad at picking favorites. I do like Osamu's design. I think it's cool, and I kind of imagine that he maybe wears like gold and such. And I don't know. I just like the colors, I guess. I also like Kensuke's and Cho's designs as well as Takeo's designs. I know they're just fun. Again, it's hard for me to pick favorites. So, Zero Arrows asks the question: how would you say a majority of those without powers feel in comparison to those with them? That answer is quite complicated and changes from person to person, so I'm gonna be speaking in broad general terms here because we'd be here for a while if I were to go into all of it. I think a lot of people without powers feel that the world is a lot harder and harsher. It's harder to get jobs, especially if you want to become a hero. There's a high chance of getting bullied, and just a whole lot of things that makes life a lot harder than it should be. Feelings towards this can range from frustration to unwilling determination to make it all better. It changes from person to person. Generally, I think, in the powerless community, people try to uplift each other. I think there's also, a lot of the time, this kind of sense of pity given to those without powers. They're kind of like, oh, that was really hard, and I feel so sorry for you that it has to be this way. It can leave a lot of people feeling pretty down about not having a power, which can lead to a lot of other things like frustration and self-hatred and just a lot of negative feelings towards oneself or society, or both. Also, it would be very frustrating as many do not wish to get pity for not having a power. You kind of can't control it, and also it's just kind of annoying. Things are definitely changing for the better, and also a community that have come together of people who are powerless, as it's called in that world, and, you know, are there to help each other and generally foster a more accepting environment and fight for change. Also, I hope that this answer was satisfying. I know it's not very in-depth and kind of very broad, so I hope it was still satisfying. So, before we jump into the very last question, and also makes the bonus facts, here's a small bonus fact. Originally, Yuki had an ice-related power. Probably is not that surprising given her name. If I remember correctly, as it has been a few years since I first made the story, it was a pretty standard ice power, like being able to coat things in thick layers of ice and create spikes and all that kind of stuff. The ice power is probably also the reason her name is Yuki to begin with. I can't remember if I named her Yuki back when she had an ice power or if that came later on and I just felt like the name was fitting. I honestly can't remember. Her name has been Yuki for so long. Her power ended up changing, as you probably know. She has a fire power now, not an ice power. I think some of that probably came because I took a break from these characters for like some months, half a year, maybe even a year. I honestly have no idea. But usually when I take big breaks from characters or worlds or stories, when I then come back to them, if I do, usually things change or get revamped. Sometimes a lot of things change or get revamped. Yeah, that's probably how her power changed. I still can't remember what spurred that change, but it is what it is. And now, it is time for the last question. So, Sarah Era asks, any plans for when you're finished? That is a very good question. Honestly, I'm not entirely sure if I have an answer to that. I'm pretty sure it'll take multiple years to write Heroes from start to finish, and a lot of things could change in that amount of time. Because of that, I haven't really made any specific plans. Like, I have ideas of what I could do, but nothing I'm like, yeah, after Heroes, I'm gonna do this. Maybe I'll pick up one of my other long stories to write. Maybe I'll work on some spin-offs of Heroes from the other cast members' perspectives. Or maybe I'll focus on my shorter stories or short stories for a while. I don't know. Only time will tell in this case. I do hope to publish Heroes though. Though when that's gonna happen, I also cannot tell. So, that is all for the questions. Thank you so much to everyone who asked. It genuinely means a lot. But before I end this video, I want to share some extra bonus facts that I kind of talked about / mentioned before. Now, the first of these facts happened years ago, so my memory is pretty fuzzy on them. This is what I can recount though a lot of my thought process has been lost to time. Anyways, here's some bonus facts. Continuing from the last bonus fact, Yuki had bluish-white hair back then. I don't remember if her hairstyle was the same as the one she had in the first drawing of her, which was after I changed her power, but I feel like I remember it being similar. Pretty straight, not really curly, just straight. Also, continuing on that, Yuki actually had a sister, who, as obvious as it might be, had a fire power. She was also basically the opposite of Yuki. Yuki was quiet and calculated, and her sister was energetic and bubbly. Maybe some of that sister character got merged into her new version when she got revamped. Not sure. In any case, Yuki is a single child now. Way back when Yuki had an ice power before The Break, trademark, the gang that now consists of Kensuke, Yuki, and Hashiro consists of Yuki, Hashiro, Izumi, and Aina. Yeah, Kensuke wasn't even a part of it back then. Back then, Aina had a pretty different personality. While he was still quiet, he was more, well, I don't quite remember, to be honest. I feel like he was a lot more quiet back then, probably a bit more open about himself than he is now. I don't fully remember. I don't even remember how developed he actually was. Again, it's been a few years and my memory is very saucy? My memory is very fuzzy on this one. Also back then, Izumi wasn't super different. At least she was happy-go-lucky and a social butterfly back then, so that didn't really change all that much. Though like Aina, I don't think she was all that developed in comparison to the others, so it's kinda hard to say how different she was back then in comparison to now. Kensuke got into the story over time. I had the idea for him when Hachiro and Aina went to a different country for vacation and got captured by some villains and put in a cell in this large factory like stronghold. Yeah, I don't know what happened. One of the people they got thrown in together with was Kensuke, who helped Hachiro because Aina had passed out for reasons I don't remember. I think it might have been power related. Kensuke helped them get out with the help of his magnetism power. I don't exactly remember what made his character stay. I also realized he had a better romance chemistry with Hachiro than Aina. I'll elaborate on this later, I promise. And that probably fed into him staying. I can say though, I'm glad he did stay because I love this boy a lot. I love him. He's great. He's my son, my child. I love him. Over time, Izumi and Aina slowly fell away from the group, so to speak, and ended up more as secondary characters. If I do decide to make spin-offs, which I kind of really do want to, they're gonna be main characters at some point. I don't know if they're gonna be main characters in the same story or in a different one. Like Izumi will be together with some other characters and Aina will be together with another group of characters. I don't know, but they will be main characters at some point, hopefully. So I said I would elaborate, and I will. Way back then, Aina and Hachiro were originally the ones to fall in love with each other. When Kensuke got introduced, I realized his chemistry with Hachiro was better, so it kind of ended up being the main couple of the story. I honestly don't really know why Aina and Hachiro were meant to get together. I think I just liked the bit of chemistry that they have, and their personalities sort of played off of each other. And that's all I got for now. Again, thank you so much to the people who asked questions. I hope this video answered them all in a satisfying way, and you got your answers. If not, then I'm sorry. Don't really know what else I can do. I can elaborate in the comments if you want. Yes, feel free to ask more questions. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you all next time. Bye! Bye!